Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here. Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing? Matt Antonelli. On my way to a travel ball game right now for Antonelli Baseball, and I wanted to make this video. I always get into recruiting mode when I'm driving, and so let's talk a little bit. I want to answer some questions that I've been getting on a lot of the recruiting videos that I've put up. If you haven't seen them, go check them out. I've got a playlist with tons of them in there. Okay, today's question is about the recruiting timeline. A lot of people are still kind of confused on when they should be making recruiting videos and when is the biggest time for recruiting. And so I want to talk about it today. I've got some people that are saying, like, senior year, is that when I should really start with the recruiting process? No, that's way too late. I have other people saying that, they've talked to recruiting services and they're trying to get them to make videos and stuff in the 6th and 7th grade. Is that too early? Yes. So there's a quick answer. But let's really get into the timeline, and I'm going to give you a little bit more detail. So for me, I think the recruiting process should begin when you get to high school. Now, this does not mean that you're going to get recruited when you get into high school. It doesn't mean that coaches are going to start contacting you. They actually can't anyways. At most levels, Division I, they can't. Division II, they can't. Division III, there's really no rules or anything, so they could, I guess, technically. But they're not going to. But what I mean by starting the recruiting process is when you get into high school, that's when you should start to think about college. And I know it's tough because most people are like, oh, I'm just getting to high school. But if you know you want to play college baseball, well, then you should start to put together a target list, okay? And all this is you want to start to become familiar with the colleges, and a lot of it is just having to do with outside of baseball stuff. So starting to think about, okay, what type of grades do I have? Am I a good student? Am I not a great student? I know, again, it's still very early. Obviously, you haven't taken any tests or anything. But this list can be huge. It can be humongous. And you should just start to put some names on the list. Start to figure out, if I wanted to go to school, if I wanted to go to college, where would I like to go? Would I like to go kind of close to home, further away, in the city, in the mountains, in the wherever, down south in the warm, up north in the cold? Just start to think about some of those things and just start to put schools on lists just so you start to get familiar with the school. So you can start doing some research and seeing academically what schools are, maybe in your ballpark and which ones aren't. And I know that it's tough when you start freshman year, but if you at least start to do the work and you put a ton of names on the list, a lot of schools on the list, well, then as you start to become a sophomore, you can start to cut off some of the schools, maybe take them down, maybe add a few more. So again, we just tell the players to start doing some of the research, and all of it can be done online. It's super easy to find everything online. So that's where we start. Now, when it comes to the actual recruiting process of schools coming out to watch you and actually grading your ability, for most players, the biggest time for recruiting is the summer after your junior year of high school, okay? That is the biggest time for, I would say, 90+% of players, because that's when middle to lower end D1s are really kind of, some are putting their final touches on things, but a lot of times for middle to lower D1s, they still got a good chunk of guys that they're looking at. Division IIs are really heavy into recruiting their entire roster. Division IIIs are kind of getting going, and they'll go into the fall and maybe even a little bit further. But that's when the most schools are really looking hard to get guys, okay? And that is, again, after your junior season of high school. That's the biggest time. Now, senior year, when you move into senior year, depending on the level, like most Division I's are going to kind of be done by then for you, but there still could be some Division IIs and definitely Division IIIs that are still looking for players. And there could be some Division I schools that are looking for players into the fall of your senior year. So that gives you a little bit of an idea. Now, who's going to get recruited before then, right? You've probably heard of some players committing their freshman year of high school or maybe their sophomore year of high school. Well, the earlier that you get recruited just means typically the better player you are and the higher level you're getting recruited to. So if you're getting recruited the summer after your sophomore year of high school, well, then you're no doubt probably going to be a Division I player. How it works is the best schools in the country, the best Division I schools in the country, they are going to try to get their guys as early as possible because they're trying to beat everybody else to the punch. So if they really love you, if you're a top player in your state, well then you might commit your sophomore year, that summer. You might commit earlier than that. I've seen during freshman or after their freshman year of high school, that summer, I've seen some players commit then. But those players are some of the top players in the country, right? They're definitely top players in the state. And so I know the recruiting process is getting earlier and earlier, but if you get committed or you get recruited before your junior year, so let's say it's your sophomore year or your freshman year, then you're an elite player, and you're gonna have no problem with the recruiting process because lots of schools are gonna be on you. Everybody's gonna be on you at that point. So I just get a lot of players that get nervous, right? It's junior year of high school and they're like, oh, I missed the whole recruiting process. No one's talked to me yet. Like how I'm never gonna play college baseball. 90+% of players, that's when the recruiting process really begins. That's when schools really start to come out and watch you play. Again, unless you are an absolute stud and you're a no doubt slam dunk Division I player, then you'll probably get recruited a little bit earlier than that. They also have to keep in mind that there are rules when it comes to the recruiting process. So Division I schools can't talk to you before your junior year of high school. So if you're not a junior yet, they can't call you. They can't email you anything other than a camp invite, okay? They can't text you. And so the way they do it is they'll usually go through the travel ball coach, okay? So like I'll get calls for guys that aren't juniors yet. I'll get calls that say, hey, could you have this player call me at this certain time? Or, that's usually how it works, all right? So they'll contact me either by phone call or by text, and they'll ask if I can tell the player to call them at a certain time. Because as a player, you can call a college coach at any point. I don't recommend that you do unless they contact you, or again, unless your summer ball coach tells you to call. So that's really, really important. Division II, they have rules also. They can contact you a little bit earlier than Division I schools. And then Division III can talk to you at any point, okay? There's really no rules. But again, Division III team is not going to talk to you probably before that date anyway, because they're going to be waiting to see what happens with those Division I schools and Division II schools. They're going to see if you kind of fall through the cracks of the Division I schools, and then they're going to jump on you, right? If they get to contacting you super early, right? If you're a stud and they try to talk to you really early, well, I mean, you're probably going to want to wait to see what happens with Division I schools. And so there's really no point of them trying to get on you that early. So that's kind of how the process works. That's a rough timeline. When it comes to recruiting videos, same thing. You've got to kind of have an idea of your skill set and your talent level, and hopefully you have a coach that can help you. If you're a player that's a no doubt Division I player, well then you're going to want to get your recruiting video done a little bit sooner. You're not going to want to wait until after your junior year of high school that summer. You're not going to wait until then, because you could get recruited a lot earlier than that. Okay, so you're going to make your video probably during your sophomore year. If you're really a stud, right, then maybe your freshman year. But again, we're talking about top players in your state. If you're like most players that are going to play college ball, the 90+% of them that aren't slam dunk Division I players, well then, getting a recruiting video done your junior year is probably perfectly fine, because then you're going to shoot it out and make sure that by the time the summer rolls around, schools have an opportunity to get out. They'll be able to watch your video, and then they'll be able to get out and watch you play. All right? So hopefully that works or makes sense. When it comes to videos, again, there's really no penalty for being too early with your video, but you do want to keep in mind, if you don't feel like you have a great skill set just yet, there really is no point in making a video. Like if you're throwing 72 miles an hour, there's probably no point in making a video, because at that point colleges aren't going to be interested in that, right? So why make a video and show it? You want to make sure that whatever you're putting on video, when colleges watch it, they're going to be interested in you. And so if you think you've got a lot more developing to do, just wait until you do it and then make the video. So hopefully that makes sense. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Subscribe to the channel, share the video with all your friends, give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff. Go and check all our other videos out. We've got tons of recruiting videos that you guys can check out in our playlist, and we'll talk to you later.